Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories this hour. Police arrest 14 suspects over mob killing of 16 travelers in Edo State. And former River State Head of Service George Nweke denies kidnap claims from his wife. Also coming up, M23 and Southern African Development Community reach agreements on troop withdrawal in Eastern DRC. Details coming up shortly. Now we begin the news from Edo State, where 14 suspects have been arrested in connection with the brutal killing of 16 travelers in Edo State on Thursday. The victims, believed to be hunters, were lynched by a mob in the Uromi area after being suspected of criminal activities. According to the Edo State Police, the travelers were in a truck coming from Elele, River State, when they were stopped by a local vigilante group. Some of the travelers were found with locally made guns, which led to accusations of kidnapping. The situation quickly escalated as vigilantes raised alarm, prompting an attack by the mob, which resulted in the deaths of 16 individuals. Police officers responded quickly, rescuing 10 of the travelers, 2 of whom were injured and are now receiving medical treatment. Authorities have since convened a meeting with local stakeholders to address the violence. Meanwhile, Edo State Governor Monday Okpolo has condemned in strong terms the setting ablaze of some suspected kidnappers by residents of a community in Uromi, Esan Northeast local government area. Describing the act as barbaric and condemnable, the governor, represented by the Chief Security Officer CP Solomon Osagale, vowed to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to justice and made to face the full wrath of the law. He stressed that such a barbaric act is strange. Osagale said he was in Uromi at the instance of the governor to ascertain the level of damage done and to ensure that prompt investigation is carried out to ensure justice and forestall a reoccurrence. Now, still staying in Edo State, members of Edo State senatorial constituency have commenced the recall process against Senator Naira Imasuen. This comes amidst increasing discontent among constituent members who allege that Senator Imasuen has not adequately addressed their concerns. At a press conference in Benin City, 6 out of 7 members representing the 7 local government areas of the Edo South Senatorial District added their signatures. The lawmaker has reacted to the recall process.
The people of Edo South Senatorial District hereby declare a total loss of confidence on Senator Naira Imasuen. His tenure in the Nigerian Senate has been marked by failure, corruption, abuse of office, and gross betrayal of public interest.
Oga, is it wrong for you to tar roads in your constituency? Oga, what is wrong if you tar the road from 100 feet from St. Saviour down to Ubahi, the road behind Guinean, to decongest Rama Park and 3rd Junction? Oga, we are not feeling your presence.
The issue that was before my committee was the issue of the conduct on the floor of the Senate. It has nothing absolutely to do with sexual harassment. Sexual harassment came after the first petition that was brought before my committee. And we have standing rules. The first petition that was laid by the petitioner was signed by her, and that's against our standing rule. If the case that before any competent court of jurisdiction, we do not hear it. I'm also aware some of them, the one there, said they are starting my recall. I wish them well. Let them continue.
We now head to River State, where former River State Head of Service George Nweke has denied claims from his wife, Florence, that he was kidnapped. In a video released Saturday, Nweke clarified that he is safe in Abuja, where he voluntarily went to report to security agencies about the recent developments in Rivers State. He explained that he resigned as head of service earlier this week and dismissed his wife's claims, suggesting she had been misled. Nweke emphasized that he is working in Abuja and is not under any duress. Florence, in an emotional interview, expressed concern over her husband's safety, saying she was alarmed after watching a video interview with him, which she found suspicious. She had tried contacting him, but his phone was unreachable.
And I say good morning, gentlemen of the press. I'm back to you this evening. My name is George Nweke. I'm in Transcorp, Abuja. I came in here this morning from Port Harcourt to meet with security agencies to report myself and to report the things that are happening in the state that are making me to feel sick. Actually, I was head of service until Monday, the 4th, and I resigned because of things that are happening. So, after the press interview I granted, I just saw a video of my wife trending, where they went to hold her and they fed her with all kind of fallacies. They told her to be kidnapped. I want to clear this. I am not kidnapped. I am in Abuja. This is Transcorp Hotel, where I'm lodging. And they told her that I was kidnapped and she's crying, and they wrote a script for her to say all sorts of things. I want to put this straight. I am the head of service, and I'm on oath. My wife does not know the things that happen in my office. I don't discuss anything about office to her. It's only my domestic or social matters that we discuss. So that script they wrote for her is not and void. So I want to clear the air that I am safe, I'm fine, I'm in Abuja. But tomorrow morning, I intend to go to the security agencies to report myself. So my coming to Abuja was based on the fact that Abuja is where all the headquarters of security agencies are housed. So I came here and I think I'm safe here to make this report here, so they can investigate. And I'm saying that I'm on oath. If I allow any of those things, they will take me up. But I'm reporting exactly what I know and nothing but that.
The federal government has announced plans to resume the construction of the National Library in Abuja in June this year. This comes after over a decade since the project commenced, a situation that has left many displeased in the past. The Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, made this known to newsmen during a site inspection alongside senior officials of the ministry in company of a team of consultants. Alausa says that the completion plan would be executed in phases, starting with basement level 1, basement level 2, the ground floor, first floor, second floor, and external works of the facility. The importance of financial literacy cannot be overlooked, as it plays a crucial role in equipping individuals and organizations with the skills and knowledge necessary to make informed financial decisions. Now, this was the position of some financial experts at a book launch recently held in Lagos. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more on this.
Financial literacy levels in Nigeria remain relatively low, with a large portion of the population lacking basic knowledge of financial concepts and practices. This conversation was once again brought to the fore at the launch of a book titled The Profit of Purpose, to enlighten individuals, particularly leaders in the social sector, on the importance of financial sustainability for economic growth.
This is a guide on how to master financial management, accountability and transparency. It has 7 chapters, and the 7 chapters covers from financial reporting to taxation to fundraising to monitoring and evaluation, and just understanding the tenets of financial management.
While most non-profit organizations are driven by passion, experts believe passion is not enough, hence creating a balance between passion and finances to ensure organization sustainability and growth.
You cannot deliver impactful work that creates social change without being able to identify and effectively manage the financial and non-financial resources that goes with it. And this book really makes that point. How do individuals identify funding for the impactful work that they do? but ensure that they are able to effectively manage and report on those funds to whoever gives the funding to them.
Nowadays, the problem is not with getting resources, but then people who are going to provide these resources, organizations who are going to provide these resources want individuals, organizations they can trust. So one of the things this book has done is to actually provide like a kind of enlightenment, kind of training, to really help individuals, social entrepreneurs to understand what it takes to be financially literate so that they can also attract the interest of other stakeholders.
According to the author, the book aims to prioritize and improve individual and organizations' financial stability, hence providing insight into concepts such as budgeting, debt management, taxation, saving and investment, among others. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Welcome back. Now we go to health matters. Health experts in Nigeria have raised concerns over the dangers of excessive salt consumption, saying that it is responsible for the rising cases of hypertension, which now affects over 35% of adults in the country. This was during the launch of the National Guideline for Sodium Reduction in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Our correspondent Joshua Emarai has the details.
Nigeria's federal government has launched the National Guideline for Sodium Reduction as part of its effort to prevent the adverse health consequences of excessive salt intake. Speaking at the launch in Abuja, the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, represented by the Director of Food and Drug Department at the Ministry, says that excessive salt consumption is directly linked to the rise in hypertension across the country.
Our country has witnessed the transformative power of urbanization, with our diets increasingly incorporating processed and packaged food. These changes have created new challenges to our healthcare landscape and necessitates bold public health initiatives to safeguard our communities against silent threats, one of which is the elevated risk of cardiovascular diseases linked to high sodium consumption.
Some others present say effective implementation of the guideline will help improve public health and reduce the adverse effects of salt consumption.
The global average intake of sodium averages 10.8 grams per day, which is more than double the WHO recommendation, highlighting the urgency of a sustainable action.
We strongly believe that the effective implementation of the national guideline on sodium reduction in Nigeria will help in no small measure in reducing excessive sodium intake among the populace and thereby reduce cases of cardiovascular diseases and non-communicable diseases in Nigeria.
They expressed their commitment to supporting the successful implementation of the new guideline.
NAFDAC is committed to supporting the effective implementation of this guideline. Our regulatory oversight will ensure compliance with sodium reduction targets, clear labeling of sodium content in prepackaged food products, and continuous engagement with the food industry to promote healthier alternatives to sodium.
With the guideline now released, experts are hoping salt intake can be regulated in a bid to improve public health. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Emarai.
Amidst Nigeria's continued challenge with air and environmental pollution, Ewekoro local government area in Ogun State adds to the increasing statistics as residents are still burdened with the after effects of the activities of a major player in the cement manufacturing industry situated in the host community of Ewekoro and Akimbo, about 46 years since operations began. In this report, News Central's Aishat Salihu investigates the issues beneath this challenge, calling on authorities to do right by committing to one health approach in order to optimize health outcomes for all.
Ewekoro is a major destination for industrial plants, but beneath the surface of this easygoing community, a silent killer is taking hold. Air, environment, water, and noise pollution, impacting the environment and human health in distinct ways. The cement industry that powers these towns is fueling a growing crisis that threatens the health and social well-being of the vulnerable population.
It's affecting us by blasting. They are blasting. When they are blast, it vibrates the land that can cause earthquake. So that is why the buildings are cracking. The vibration, yes, is the causes.
Ìlera ó jẹ́ nǹkan tó jẹ́ kókó tó yẹ kí wọ́n bá mú ní ọ̀kúnkúndùn. Ṣé tí yín ṣe tó jẹ́ pé gbogbo ìmú gan ẹlòmíì gan nílùú kò yẹ kó tí ì darúgbó tó ti máa darúgbó pàjáwìrì àpàpàǹdodo lórí kíní pollution wọn tó máa ń dust tó máa ń káàkiri kò síbi tí ò kí ń dé irú bá ṣe wà ń bí ìbàyè sìn ó jẹ́ ìmú gan ẹlòmíì gan kò yẹ kó tí ì kú tó yẹ mọ̀ pé tó bá ti fa dust símú ó máa tètè kú tí ọjọ́ òní tí ì pè tó ti máa kú.
For 65-year-old Shakirat Oloyede, a native and resident of Ewekoro community, the air she breathes every day is a constant struggle. Shakirat has been living with some health conditions that worsen with the rising levels of air and environmental pollution in her neighborhood.
The thing where they happen is too much. Because the dust, they affect us. They affect our nose, mouth and eyes. And our chest. If anybody cough that time, now that dust, now it go bring out from the mouth. And when we are going to hospital to take care of ourselves, then go treat chest for cough, and the eyes, then they treat it for us. As I they go to hospital, the money now from my pocket, now they use to treat myself. Nobody they help me, give me money or support me.
The rapid industrialization, vehicle emissions, dilapidated road structure, and also carbon emission arising from the activities of the cement factory in a worker community have led to a decline in the air quality right here.
There seem to be debates over the decades, but what is unclear is why the community refused to relocate after admitting the cement company suggested the option.
Lóòótọ́ wọ́n sọ pé ká relocate a lè relocate nítorí pé kí ni ibi tá à ń gbégun ẹ̀ tún ṣe lè wá fẹ́ relocate wa ṣó ti yé sí àfi kẹ́ ẹ̀ tún ṣe náà tẹ́ bá tún ṣe la máa jọ jókòó gbogbo a máa jókòó ní village la máa sọ̀rọ̀ kó kí o yá kí la ká ṣe kí ni assurance pé tá bá relocate tá bá lọ ṣé a máa rí nǹkan gbà mọ́ àbí báwo lẹ ṣe fẹ́ ṣe.
Ononode Monsuru, a youth representative who has lived in Ewekoro all his life, like many others, says all he wants from the ongoing deliberation is compensation for repairs on his building structure ahead of the rainy season.
So, waiting cause this thing, the major something is that because of the dust of the wako, of lavage, is making cake for the whole zinc, turn it to asbestos, which is not asbestos, it's only the zinc. So now all the zinc turned to asbestos. When rain is fall, we can't take the water. The water is very bad for us to take. So though Lafarge, they are trying their best, but we need their effort to continue to do it for us.
Experts worry that prolonged exposures to cement dust and mine blasts would affect the quality of life in the communities.
The particles are so tiny, because these ones we are seeing, there are ones you cannot even see. There are ones that are so tiny that can pass through your nostrils. Your nose have protection, have those hairs that can protect something heavy from passing through. But there are also some that are so tiny that they can pass through. You can start having asthma, you can start having bronchitis, start having lung diseases that is a factor to lung cancer. So if you calculate somebody that's 65 years or maybe 50 years of his life or her life has been exposed to this, so the quality of life will not be as good as someone that is not exposed to that.
As for the way forward,
the issue is this: whether they are there legally or not, or illegally, we have a duty towards them as a government. We have a social contract to protect the well-being of the people of the state. So they are part of the people we have to protect. So, but we have to do it cautiously. And if we have to apply moral suasion with Lafarge, we will do that. And if they have any convincing evidence to show that, look, they are right, let them come forward with it. I can tell you, we are here to protect them.
All efforts to get the multinational cement company, who has been mentioned as the key player in this air, water, environment and noise pollution allegations, to respond and state their stand proved abortive, as they did not grant interviews after inquiries were sent. As the cement factory continues to exist in the host communities and status quo maintained, so too does the threat of air, environment, water and noise pollution on health outcomes. But with the right implementation of policies, better industrial practices and public awareness, it is possible to turn the tide.
In Ewekoro, Ogun, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
The federal government has inaugurated a committee to address the power crisis affecting the nation's health sector, particularly in tertiary health facilities. The Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Isiaq Salako, while inaugurating the committee in Abuja ahead of the National Dialogue on Power in the Health Sector, says that energy sufficiency is critical to strengthening healthcare service across the country. Salako outlined the committee's key responsibilities, which include convening a national stakeholders dialogue and ensuring the effective implementation of the dialogue's recommendations, including mobilizing resources for sustainable electrification.
While I acknowledge that there have been some pockets of deployment of alternative energy solutions in our health institutions, it is obvious that the current efforts are neither integrated nor guided by any holistic framework, operational guideline, or overarching policy. In addition, there have been reports of fire incidences, battery malfunctioning, theft of critical energy infrastructure, and other operational or maintenance problems in some health institutions that have embarked on alternative energy projects. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for experimentation and haphazard adoption of unproven platform for energy sourcing is over. We can no longer afford business as usual in the face of mounting energy bills in our hospitals. The time has come for all hands to be on deck to relieve our hospitals of the burden of prohibitive cost of power supply, which costs hundreds of millions of naira monthly.
Now, away from that, gender experts in Nigeria have called for adequate laws to end sexual harassment in workplaces, saying that it is an epidemic that needs to be tackled. This was during a roundtable discussion in Abuja, where they reviewed sexual exploitation, abuse and harassment, which continues to threaten the safety, dignity and productivity of women and girls across the country. Amadine Uyi here reports.
The order of the Senate.
Sir, Order 10 on privileges.
The recent impasse between Kogi lawmaker Natasha Akpoju-Uduaghan and the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has continued to dominate the headlines. This has placed the issue of sexual harassment in workplaces on the front burner as Nigerians discuss the plight of victims and how they can access justice. Some gender rights experts say the nation has missed an opportunity to learn from the episode and make adjustments in policies and laws.
When the news broke, the first thing that Nigerians should be asking is not about who did what or who did not do what. It's about what laws are available. What's the mechanism within the National Assembly against sexual harassment?
At this roundtable organized by non-profit organization, the Baobab for Women's Rights, gender rights experts reviewed the challenge of sexual exploitation, including abuse and harassment, which continues to threaten the safety, dignity and productivity of women and girls in workplaces across Nigeria.
Sexual harassment is a serious issue in Nigeria, and it's because it appears that we do not discuss it enough. At times it has been ingrained in the society to make it seem as if it's something that can be excused.
It's an obvious fact that sexual harassment has become an epidemic. Is a menace that is already with us, and it gives great concern to every individual who knows what the consequences is or are to the society.
Some of them say that Nigerian laws do not adequately deal with sexual harassment and prefer adequate punitive measures for those complicit in the crime.
I've looked at labor laws. I do not see any strong pronouncement. I do not see any strong section of that. I know that the Nigerian Industrial Court is the one that is responsible for sexual harassment. I know that there have been so many rulings that one can leverage that will serve as precedent, but then do Nigerians even know that that is available to them?
Many here are calling for domestication of international conventions against sexual harassment, already signed by government so as to protect victims of the vice. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
As Nigeria's digital space continues to expand, concerns over online rights, data privacy, and press freedom are becoming more urgent. From surveillance and international or internet shutdowns to arbitrary arrest over social media posts, experts warn that without proper safeguards, these issues could threaten democracy, press freedom, and even national security. Our correspondent Edong Joseph has more on this.
Digital rights encompasses internet access, online freedom of expression, data protection, and cybersecurity. However, in Nigeria, these rights are frequently challenged by restrictive laws, government surveillance, and cybersecurity threats. Journalists and security agencies often find themselves at the center of these debates, one advocating for freedom of information, and the other advocating for the protection of national security. The intersection between these rules often leads to friction, misinterpretation of laws, and at times legal confrontations.
Law enforcement agencies also do a great job too, and because it also ensure that we have a safe society, and to also ensure that national security is also protected. But this fail to understand that journalism is also about the security of the nation.
To bridge this gap, Advocates Sans Frontières France, in collaboration with UNESCO, is implementing an initiative on e-rights, which aims to foster understanding between journalists and security agencies, especially in navigating the complex digital landscape.
The key message is to ensure that human rights, as we have always known it, enshrined in Chapter 4 and Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, to ensure that these are essentially protected also on the digital space.
Experts say continuous dialogue and legal reforms are essential to ensuring that security concerns do not override fundamental human rights.
The most assailant of journalists are the security agencies. So something has to give. There has to be that conversation. There has to be that sensitization.
So if you're pushing out content that is correct, and I mean that there's not full of lies or fake, of course I don't think that there will be conflict.
As digital rights continue to shape conversations around governance, press freedom, and security in Nigeria, the hope is that efforts like this would lead to policies that protect both individual freedoms and national interests in the evolving digital space. In Abuja for News Central, Edong Joseph.
And away from that, experts have challenged parents to aid their children and wards in choosing the best careers that will suit their lifestyles, rather than stick with that which will please them and end up displeasing the children when they eventually become adults. Chizoba Anyanwe delved to find out reasons behind the sudden change behind people's careers, especially as adults, upon graduation from higher institutions. Here's her report.
These are pupils celebrating their school career day, done once annually, to draw their attention to the need to always be focused on their choice of career in future. As children, there are many different vocations on their mind, and usually they switch to any one that comes to mind at any point in time. More worrisome is that many of them carry it over to adulthood, even upon graduation from tertiary institution. Mrs. Ogechi Savior is an expert here and speaks on this.
The problem we have is that we lack guidance. And because we lack guidance, you get to primary school
from primary school to secondary school, by the time you are done, nobody is telling you, nobody is trying to guide you to know, hear you out. What do you really want to do? What do you have ability, capability to do? Where is your area of interest? Looking at your personality, do you have what it takes to be able? You understand? So nobody is there to guide you.
Despite this sad situation, Mrs. Savior says there's a way out.
I try to interact with them. One, discover where they have need. Then I come in. Because we have a lot of students with different needs. Some academically, some emotionally, some even family, parental issues. So when you discover their need, you step in. Then you begin to provide guidance. You begin to provide advice, counseling, depending on whatever you have discovered. Whatever is the problem has a tailored solution.
However, it is heartwarming to hear parents speak on this worrisome development.
Parents, you study your children. It's not just giving birth and leaving them, but monitor how they grow. Monitor the little things they do. From there, if they are making choices, you'll be able to guide them.
It is for us to bring them up, see that their dreams come true, so that they will too will be very happy with their life and the future they want to build.
I wouldn't want my child to get to a certain age and regret the decisions I made for him. I would rather want him to thank me later and, appreciate the fact that I was there to only mentor.
While this campaign goes on, everyone is urged to help a child or adult achieve their choice of career in life to avoid certain psychological disorder in future. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyuwi.
Welcome back. Now, the M23 armed group has reached an agreement with the Southern African Development Community to facilitate the withdrawal of SADC troops from the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The SADC, a regional bloc for Southern Africa, decided earlier this month to end its deployment after more than a dozen of its soldiers were killed in the ongoing conflict. M23 fighters backed by Rwanda have gained control of large areas in North and South Kivu provinces and launched a rapid offensive in January, capturing key cities like Goma and Bukavu. On Friday, military leaders from South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, and Tanzania met with M23's military chief in Goma, agreeing to the immediate evacuation of SADC forces and the repair of Goma airports damaged by fightings.
Nous avons eu une réunion avec la SADC concernant le retrait immédiat des troupes de la SAMI d'IRC, de Goma. Et nous avons aussi discuté par rapport à la ouverture de l'aéroport de Goma, comme vous le savez très bien, qui est très endommagé par les bombes et des mines laissées par le régime de Kinshasa. Et la SADC a décidé de nous accompagner à la réparation de l'aéroport de Goma pour que cet aéroport s'ouvre le plus vite que possible afin que les retraits des troupes de la SAMI-DRC se fassent dans un bref délai.
Guinea's former dictator Moussa Dadis Camara has been pardoned by the country's military junta for health reasons. This comes after a landmark trial where he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for his role in the 2009 massacre at an opposition rally. On September 28, 2009, at least 156 people were killed, hundreds were injured, and at least 109 women were raped during the brutal crackdown. Camara was found guilty of crimes against humanity for his role in suppressing the demonstration and failing to punish the perpetrators. The pardon follows Guinea's junta's announcement that it will cover compensation for victims, with amounts ranging from 200 million to 1.5 billion Guinean francs. The South Sudan government confirmed on Friday that First Vice President Riek Machar is under house arrest 2 days after being detained by forces loyal to President Salva Kiir. The arrest has sparked concerns over the fragile peace agreements between rival factions. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for an immediate ceasefire and urged both sides to prioritize peace over conflict. The government accuses Machar of inciting violence and disrupting peace efforts, blaming him for recent clashes in Nasir county. Now, despite these tensions, life in Juba remains calm, with shops open and normal activities on the streets. Machar's party condemned his arrest as unlawful, claiming it is a move to undermine the peace process.
With the intelligence report and security and intelligence reports that Dr. Riek Machar, the first Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan, and the chairman of the SPLM-AIO, the chairman and commander-in-chief of the SPLM-AIO, had all this time been in contact with his people, with his bases, and as a result of these contacts, a lot of things happened within the month of March. As you know very well, the first thing that started was when the White Army decided to assemble and attack the Nasir garrison. In order to save the agreement and an exercise of his powers vested upon him, the President of the Republic of South Sudan, who is in charge of the safety and security of the lives and properties of the people of South Sudan, who is in charge of the safety and safety of the territory of the Republic of South Sudan. His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit directed that the Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, should be put under house arrest pending investigation. That Dr. Riek Machar is under house arrest. Is under house arrest, will be subjected to investigation, and it is the investigation that will prove his innocence or his guilt.
The death toll from a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake has risen to 144 people, with hundreds others injured across Myanmar and Thailand on Friday. The quake toppled buildings and bridges, trapping over 80 workers in an under-construction skyscraper in Bangkok. 81 construction workers are missing, the Thai Deputy Prime Minister says, and a search and rescue operation is underway. Meanwhile, Russia has deployed 120 rescuers to Myanmar following the deadly earthquake that struck the southern East Asian country. On March 28, the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situation released images showing the rescue team boarding 2 planes ready to assist with the aftermath of the disaster. In a show of support, Russian President Vladimir Putin sent condolences to Myanmar's Prime Minister Min Aung Hlaing, expressing solidarity during his challenging time. The Russian rescuers are expected to provide critical aid and support as Myanmar deals with the devastation caused by the earthquake. In South Korea, hundreds of thousands rallied on Saturday both for and against impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol as protests intensified while the Constitutional Court decided whether to remove him from office. Yoon was impeached over his controversial declaration of martial law on December 3rd, and the court's hearings have sparked growing public divisions. Despite cold weather, both sides filled Seoul's streets carrying flags and political signs. Critics of Yoon like Lee Han-sol, expressed frustration over the ongoing delays in the court's decisions, while supporters, including right-wing groups, argue the impeachment is unlawful. The court has until June to rule, but speculation over disagreements among justices is mounting. Yoon, who faces charges related to insurrection, is the first sitting South Korean president to stand trial. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the Investment and Securities Act 2024 into law, strengthening Nigeria's capital market framework. The law, which replaces the 2007 Act, enhances investor protection, improves transparency, and aligns regulations with global standards. The Securities and Exchange Commission hailed the move as transformative, reaffirming its authority and expanding its regulatory powers. Key reforms include the classification of exchanges, a legal framework for digital assets, and stricter penalties for Ponzi schemes. The law also allows subnational governments to raise capital, fostering market growth and reducing systemic risks. The Naira appreciated by 30 Naira against the dollar in the parallel market last week, closing at 1,550 Naira per dollar from 1,580 Naira per dollar, reflecting improved FX liquidity. The Nigerian foreign exchange market recorded a $1.19 billion inflow, up from $1.1 billion the previous week. Now, in the official market, the Naira remained stable at 1,536 Naira 82 kobo per dollar. Now, despite gains, currency stability remains a challenge amid fluctuating forex supply. Against other major currencies, the Naira held steady, trading at 2,020 Naira per pound and 1,690 Naira per euro. Analysts attribute the improved liquidity to ongoing reforms claims at stabilizing Nigeria's FX market. And now sports. Namibia defeated host Nigeria by 10 runs in the opening match of the ICC Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup Africa qualifier played today at the Cricket Oval at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos. Namibia won the toss and opted to bat. The Southern Africans set a mark of 133 runs for the loss of 10 wickets, all out in just over 2 hours. In response, Nigeria's Ramon Ali got the crowd going with a huge 53 runs from 46 balls, while Femi Oresanwo added another 21 runs. The hosts seemed to have the game in hand before a middle overs collapse, eventually finishing with 123 runs for 10 wickets. In the other match of the day, played at the Unilag Cricket's pitch, Kenya hammered Sierra Leone, winning by 58 runs. The tournament continues on Saturday, when Tanzania face Uganda at the TBS Oval, while Namibia take on Sierra Leone at Unilag.
The mindset and everything we came into the tournament is not just to host the tournament, but as well to win and to qualify for the World Cup. Though before now we played the Division 2 qualifier where we came third. And us hosting now, the major aim is just for us to, not just to host, like I said, but to also pull through and attend the World Cup in Namibia come next year. Namibia, Zimbabwe hosting come next year.
We've had an under-17 tournament being organized by the Nigerian Cricket Federation for the past 5 years. We've been consistent in partnership with PwC, and that is where we select these players from. So these boys are really under 19s. We can show you the database we have. At the last tournament hosted in Abuja just early this year, we have 34 states participating. And that means the game is spreading across the country. We've been able to put together and try to employ development officers for every state across the country.
Nigeria's Quadri Aruna endured a disappointing outing at the WTT star contender Chennai, falling to Chinese Taipei's Feng Yixin in straight games of 13-11, 11-8, 11-8 in the second round. Now, the 22-year-old stunned Aruna, the number 4 seed in their first ever encounter, securing a major upset against Africa's highest-ranked player. Meanwhile, Egypt's Omar Assar made a strong start to his campaign, overcoming Hong Kong's Quan Man after dropping the first game. The 2025 Africa Cup champions won 11-7, 11-3, 12-10 to reach the last 16, where he will face either Ho Jung-sung or Chan Bao-wen. Elsewhere, India's Manika Batra and Spain's Alvaro Robles suffered early exits in their respective events. The Athletics Integrity Unit has handed Nigerian long and triple jumper Goodness Iradia a 3-year ban after testing positive for a prohibited substance. Iradia, who's 20, tested positive for metanolone, an anabolic steroid, during an in-competition test in Louisville, United States, on January 31st, 2025. A urine sample analyzed by the WADA-accredited lab resulted in an adverse analytical finding. The AIU confirmed he had no therapeutic use exemption and found no procedural errors in the testing process. Iradia admitted to the violation, reducing his ban from 4 to 3 years, effective from February 26, 2025. His result from January 31st onward have been disqualified. Iradia is the reigning Nigerian triple jump champion and won bronze at the 2024 African Athletics Championship. And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories we brought your way. Police arrest 14 suspects over mob killing of 16 travelers in Edo State. And former Rivers State Head of Service George Nwaike denies kidnap claims from his wife. M23 and Southern African Development Communities reach agreement on troop withdrawal in Eastern DRC. Now, do remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen now. And do remember to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 23, or rather Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and of course on YouTube. Now, many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.